in June 1945. In between, they fought in the Green Hell of Cape Gloucester on the island of New Britain, and across the coral wasteland of Peleliu in the Palau Islands, a campaign described by one K-35 veteran as 30 days of the meanest around-the-clock slaughter their desperate men can inflict on each other. Their story encapsulates the American experience in the Pacific, from the shock of the surprise Japanese aerial attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 that brought the United States into the war and encouraged many of the men who would fight in K Company to enlist in the first place, through the brutal recruit training regime in Marine boot camps at Parris Island, South Carolina, and San Diego, California, to the hurried deployment to the Pacific and the shock of their first taste of combat against a formidable foe, and, for the lucky ones, a blissful period of rest and recuperation in Australia before they were pitched back into the maelstrom in Cape Gloucester in late 1943, Peleliu in late 1944, and Okinawa in the spring of 1945, with only brief periods of recovery in between on the barren island of Papavu. Poised that summer to take part in the invasion of Japan proper, an operation that US military chiefs expected to cost at least 1 million casualties, they were saved by the news that Truman had dropped 2 atomic bombs and Japan had surrendered. No US Marine fought in all the old breed's battles, because they were typically rotated home after 2 years of overseas service and/or 2 campaigns, though some stayed on for 3. The wartime adventures of K Company are told therefore through the eyes of some of its most interesting characters, officers and enlisted men, whose service overlapped. Ordinary people from very different backgrounds and drawn from cities, towns, and settlements across the United States, the Devil Dogs were asked to do something extraordinary: take on the victorious Imperial Japanese Army, composed of some of the most effective, utterly ruthless, and treacherous soldiers in world history, and beat it. This is the story of how they did that, while in the process creating a brotherhood that remained for the rest of their lives. One veteran wrote, "Up there, on the line, with nothing between us and the enemy but space and precious little of that, we forged a bond that time would never erase. We were brothers. I left with a sense of loss and sadness, but K-35 will always be a part of me." It's ironic that the record of our company was so outstanding, but that so few individuals were decorated for bravery. Uncommon valor was displayed so often it went largely unnoticed. It was expected. But nearly every man in the company was awarded the Purple Heart. War is brutish, inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors were my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other. Marine Corps training taught us to kill efficiently and to try to survive, but it also taught us loyalty to each other and love. That esprit de corps sustained us. The proven template for focusing on a single company of World War II combat soldiers is Stephen E. Ambrose's Band of Brothers, first published in 1992, which follows the fortunes of Easy Company of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division, through a series of battles in Northwest Europe. No author has attempted something similar for the Pacific War. Ambrose's son Hugh went close by publishing The Pacific in 2010. But that was a book inspired by the HBO TV miniseries of the same name, rather than the other way around. Instead of following a single unit, it tells the story through the eyes of 5 main characters who fought in different outfits, who were only loosely connected and in some cases not at all. The result is a tale that ranges across units and campaigns and lacks Band of Brothers' narrative coherence. I chose K-35 as my vehicle for 2 reasons. It was there from start to finish, having landed on Guadalcanal with the first wave in the morning of 7th of August 1942, and being still in action when Okinawa fell in June 1945. But more importantly, the company contained an unusually high number of talented writers, particularly among its enlisted men, whose letters, first-hand accounts, and memoirs provided the colour, emotion, and context for this extraordinary story. The best known is Eugene B. Sledge, whose fabled book With the Old Breed at Peleliu and Okinawa is regarded as one of the greatest American combat memoirs of the war, if not the greatest. Sledge was also a prodigious letter writer, both during the war and after, and it is this largely untapped archive of correspondence held by Auburn University in Alabama that provides much of the bedrock